This video is covering the second part of the quadratics review. I'm just going to be doing number 4 here, all 4 parts, A through D. So this question is actually a little bit different than what we've seen in class, but you can definitely do it because everything's review. So what we're going to be doing is rewriting each equation into a different form. So we learned 3 forms. We've learned standard form, vertex form, and factored form. So as you notice in each part, we have different forms given, and then they want us to write the form into a different form. So for part A, notice that I'm actually in standard form or vertex form, really either one depending on how you look at it, because that bx term is not there. And I want to go into factored form. So that means that I want to look more like what C looks like. Okay, so I've given you a hint on how to do that. So factored form means I need to factor. So looking at my equation, think about what can factor. And I gave you a hint that this actually has a GCF, 6 and 96 have a common factor of 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out my 6 first, and that leaves me with x squared minus, and then 96 divided by 6 is 16. Then what you notice is that x squared minus 16 is actually a difference of squares. So the difference of squares, remember you have x being squared, 16, that's squaring 4. So then how difference of squares worked was we had x plus the square root of 16 is 4, and x minus 4. And now we have that in factored form. So it's really not hard to do, it's just review. So now for part B, we have vertex form, and we want to put that into factored form. Now, as it is right now, we cannot factor that, okay? So what we have to do is that x plus 2, we're going to have to actually rewrite that as x plus 2 times x plus 2, then subtract 25. So the x plus 2 times x plus 2, that is factored, but the fact that we have the minus 25 on the end makes some trouble. So we have to actually multiply this whole thing out. So x plus 2 times x plus 2, I'm going to double distribute here. So that's going to give me y equals x squared plus 2x. And then we're going to distribute the 2, and that's going to give me 2x plus 4. And then don't forget, we do have the minus 25 on the end. Now, I said double distribute, which we did. Now we're going to simplify by combining like terms. So we have y equals x squared plus 4x, and then 4 minus 25 is negative 21. Now, I want to pause here for a second, and I want you to recognize that this is actually a form, but it's not in factored form. This is actually in standard form. So if we stopped right now, we would be in standard form. Okay, but they want us to go into factored form. So in order to get to factored form, we have to start in standard form. So now that we're in standard, notice that we can just do AC factor. So AC factor, remember, is A times C. So A is 1 here, C is negative 21. So we have negative 21 is what we want to multiply to get, and we want to add to get positive 4. I automatically think 3 and 7. To get a positive 4, though, we want a negative 3 plus 7. Okay, so since this A is 1, we can use the shortcut. So this goes into y equals x minus 3 times x plus 7. And that is my factored form equation. Okay, so for part C, we are in factored form, and we want to go into standard form. So remember, standard form looks like ax squared plus bx plus c. So all we have to do is just double distribute those factors. So we're going to double distribute, and so that gives me y equals, now notice that 2 out in front. I'm going to leave the 2 out in front, and then put parentheses here, because that 2 is going to have to multiply by everything inside those parentheses. So hold on to that 2 till the end. So then x times x is x squared. X times 7 is plus 7x. Then distribute. negative 4, and we get negative 4x, and then negative 4 times positive 7 is negative 28. Okay, notice I have like terms here, so even before I distribute the 2, I'm going to go ahead and simplify. 7x minus 4x is 3x. And now we can distribute that 2, and we get 2x squared plus 2 times 3 is 6x, and 2 times negative 28 is 56. So that is now in standard form. All right, for our last equation, notice we are in vertex form, and we want to go into standard form. Now notice we've already kind of done this in part B, but then B, we took it further to factored form. So actually D is a little simpler. The only thing that makes D hard is the fraction 1/3 in the front. So just leave that again for the very last. All right, so we have this x minus 6 squared. So what we want to do is we want to rewrite that as x minus 6 times x minus 6. So I'm just going to worry with this x minus 6 times x minus 6 part. That 1/3 and the plus 2, leave that for the end. So I have y equals 1/3. Make sure to put your parentheses, double distribute, and we get x squared minus 6, and then negative 6 times negative 6 is plus 36. Close parentheses because that's the end of that, then plus 2. Be very careful here. This is where a lot of mistakes can be made. So I'm going to simplify my like terms, and we get 1/3 times x squared minus 12x. Notice again I put my parentheses, plus 36. Still cannot add that 2 yet. Now we have that 1/3 times everything that was in parentheses. Notice what I wrote in that green box is the same as this green box. So I have to multiply by 1/3 before I can add the 2. So make sure you follow PEMDAS. So now when I multiply by 1/3, you get 1/3 x squared. And when I multiply by 1/3, that means I'm really dividing by 3. So 12 divided by 3 is 4x. And then plus 36 divided by 3 is 12. Now you can take away the parentheses and add that 2. So then that 12 plus 2, we can just rewrite as plus 14. And now that is in standard form. Okay, so that's section 4. And now the next video will cover 5 and 6.